Great. Don't be alarmed, it's beard season. It's getting cold out here. New Game Plus is a series designed to provide insight on quitting alcohol based on my own experiences. Here are some now! In episode 1, I had some criticisms about Alcoholics Anonymous, specifically the program's insistence on a higher power and their discouragement of outside therapy. I was okay not going every week or even every month, but I would still show up annually to get my chip because I cannot resist the call of the IRL Chivo. But, and I don't say this lightly, I think I'm good. I went with a friend to a meeting in January to collect my 4-year chip, and I don't see myself going back for number 5. I'm still committed to my sobriety. I'm healthier, I'm nicer to people, and I'm focused. But I'm only this way when I'm not drinking, and I don't ever want to give that up. AA welcomes anyone who wants to quit drinking alcohol, but there are many different kinds of addiction. Mine was a form of self-medication, and addressing the root causes simplified the process of getting and staying sober. But most of the folks at these meetings are dealing with an actual innate chemical dependency. The kind that doesn't go away just because you realized why you drank. Hearing stories from people struggling to make it day to day made my addiction seem almost quaint in comparison. You'll notice that AA chips include the words unity, service, recovery on them. I still think these are important things. To find strength in a group, and to focus that strength first inward, then outward. It's the basis for these videos. How can I take my progress and convert it into something useful for someone else who might be suffering? I know one way, answering your questions. Here's a few that came in response to the first video. One Control Report writes, did you have any addictive tendencies with MMOs like FF11/14 or other games? Do any of those relate to your past experience with alcohol? Did improving your relationship with one help/worsen the other? 100%. I am cursed with an addictive personality. I played FF11 on and off for 20 years and have been deep into FF14 since Stormblood came out in 2017. In fact, FF14 was at the center of a very dangerous three-pronged habit. I used to stay at the bar after close, drinking, smoking, and playing FF14 until the wee hours, sometimes into the next day's shift. I would then continue to drink all through that shift, after which I would have to go home to physically and mentally collapse for 18 hours. If I didn't have the next day off, the bar would likely have to be shut so that I could recover. Quitting alcohol has absolutely reduced the amount of time I play FF14, and most video games in general. There was an extremely potent comorbidity coalescing between the cigarettes, the alcohol, and the game that kept me there for 12+ hours at a time. Removing the two most harmful of the three means that now I play less and I know when to stop. Thanks, OCP! Daniel Matthias 6790 writes, with your addiction, did you notice yourself gradually becoming more dependent on alcohol as time progressed, or was it an all-in experience? By this, I mean, did you start with having a drink a day and progressively notice yourself drinking more, or did you start by binging when you were first introduced to alcohol? I was all in. The dependency happened quickly. It was the realization that was gradual. As a student, I was more interested in video games than drinking. I would drink at home every so often, but I wasn't really comfortable going out to bars or parties except with close friends. This changed when I moved to Japan and realized you can drink anywhere here. It started ramping up in 2007 after I had moved from Komaki to Nagoya City proper. My commute home changed from a short bus ride to a longer bus ride followed by a train into the city. A coworker at the time was living in the same building and had the same commute. After work, he would grab a couple drinks from the convenience store while we waited for the bus and drink them on the ride home. That's when it clicked for me, that outside of work, it was acceptable to drink anytime, anywhere in Japan, even on public transportation. Combined with Japan's bar and drinking culture, this made it very easy for me to slip into the kind of alcoholism that English teachers often do over here. And at that time, you could also smoke pretty much anywhere, which meant my two major vices were then feeding into each other in an extremely harmful way. For folks looking to quit both, I recommend starting with alcohol. After a few months or years of being sober, once your rational brain is back to acting at full capacity, it becomes much more apparent how destructive smoking is. And I found that the confidence I built by kicking one addiction made the second one almost a non-issue. For me, the catalyst to finally quit smoking was our mortgage. When you're drinking, you don't care about the future. All you want to do is forget about the past so you can get through the present. When I got sober, I suddenly started caring about the future. And I imagined myself in a hospital bed apologizing to my sobbing wife that I wouldn't be around to help her pay off the rest of the mortgage. the mortgage for the home that she would soon be returning to alone after I died from 10 kinds of cancer and/or heart disease and any other number of horrors. This little thought experiment made me intensely sad and helped me quit smoking before we even finished the paperwork on the bank loan. You'll find that many of these decisions are as easy as, hey, do you want your loved ones to be real fucking sad? Thanks, Daniel. Cheer up! Shrunken Shrine writes, powerful video, Alex. It's something I've long wondered about the distinction between myself. The mental importance of drawing a line under any addiction with the past tense to some people resonated with me. Happy New Year to you! Well, Happy New Year from June! Thinking of myself as recovered instead of in recovery has definitely been the biggest help in maintaining a positive mindset and making progress. The addiction is in the past, and you do still have to put in the mental maintenance to keep it that way, but I found it helpful to mark a clear demarcation in my life. The internal comparison I like to use is to compare sobriety to having a uniform. When you have a role or job that requires you to wear a uniform, you just wake up and you put it on as part of your routine. You don't even think about it. It's a single decision that makes things easier by preempting any thoughts of drinking. Thanks, Shrine! Tanuki Strider 6541 writes, hearing your story over the years and hearing some of my own habits in them helped me cut back hugely. I was self-medicating for anxiety disorders and adult ADHD, mostly with alcohol but other drugs as well. Abstinence plus cutting back never worked for me until I did some serious work on my other issues. Much love, and I hope you're finding fulfillment in this new creative outlet. I am! I tried cutting back dozens of times and it never worked for me. Half measures availed us not is the way this is phrased in the AA Creed, and it's one of the things I do agree with them about. Cutting back isn't just something you can do with an addiction. No one's doing fun-size heroin. Breaking the cycle entirely is the only way to go, but like you said, you gotta work on your other issues first or in tandem. I spent just over a year in AA and then another 2 years with a dedicated therapist before I fully understood what I was dealing with and why I was drinking the way I was. Nailing down your precise defects and stressors and understanding why you drink has been, in my experience, the only way to reliably keep it under control. Wanting to quit is great, but you gotta understand why you were drinking yourself stupid in the first place and take steps to address those issues so that you stop doing it. Otherwise, you're wasting everyone's time, but especially yours. Thanks, Tanuki, and thank you for watching, and I hope some of this information was helpful. I have another episode in the works coming in November, which is going to focus on my specific reasons for self-medicating, how my habits spun out of control, and my decision to ultimately close the retro video game bar that it had been my dream to open. Please leave any comments and questions you'd like me to tackle in the next Q&A. Your experience and abilities will carry over.